So,
hello everyone, welcome to Curtain Call. It's our wrap-up of the 3 days here at Pro Tour Kaladesh. Rich Hagan alongside Ian Duke from Inside R&D, and fresh out of the booth from the final, Luis Scott Vargas. So Luis, let's start with you. How intense, how awesome was that final from your perspective?
I thought it was incredible. Watching two control masters play a very intricate control matchup was really, really fun.
So, what was the highlight? Because there were so many different things going on. It wasn't one theme progressing through. Every game was just a whole new story.
What I thought the most interesting was figuring out who was winning each game because it wasn't played on the board. A lot of the game was how many cards are in your deck, how many win conditions do you have left, can I run you out of removal, card draw, counterspells?
Yeah, in that second game in particular, where we would go, Carlos is ahead, here's another threat, here's another threat, here's another threat, and then now he's running out of threats, now he's running even more out of threats, now he's running out of counter magic, and now he's running out of decks. I mean, an extraordinary whole series of chapters.
Absolutely. The conclusion of that game was almost mystifying in a way if you weren't following very closely, where, Carlos actually he played out his last threat and Shota had an answer for it, and Carlos just went ahead and scooped, even though it looked like it was kind of in the middle of the game there. But both players knew there was no way for Carlos to win from there.
Well, our reporter Brian David Marshall does not speak Japanese, and Shota Yasuoka does not speak a lot of English. Nonetheless, we are putting the two of them together with a translator because we want to hear as much as we can from our latest Pro Tour champion, indeed our two-time Pro Tour champion, Shota Yasuoka. So we're gearing up to hear the words from the winner down there on the floor. But before we hear from Shota, let's come up with a card of the weekend. Now, there are plenty of candidates because you did a great job, Ian Duke, with all your colleagues in Inside R&D. I know it isn't just you in your bedroom sorting out the latest set, but so many great cards. Luis, in the end, what was the consensus card we want to talk about?
It's definitely Torrential Gearhulk. That card featured prominently in both the finalist decks. It was just impressive all weekend, from limited to constructed.
Okay, so walk us through some of the different things that card can do and that lets you do in the game.
The most important is that it gives control decks an instant speed, powerful effect that they can play with all their mana untapped. More specifically, it recasts Glimmer of Genius, Void Shatter, Galvanic Bombardment, Harness Lightning, a lot of the removal, counterspells, and card draw that these decks feature.
Yeah, Ian, we were talking with Carlos Ramao, and I think it was BDM asked him, what do you most often use Torrential Gearhulk for? And he was just straight off, Glimmer of Genius, because anytime you can do both of those things for the low price of 6 mana, you feel fantastic.
Absolutely. Glimmer of Genius, since it's a 4-cost spell, you're just getting a huge amount of mana value out of playing the Torrential Gearhulk. So that's a great default option. The other thing that's awesome about Torrential Gearhulk, and I saw all weekend, is it lets you reuse certain specific cards in your deck, which is really important in this environment because the control decks have so many different types of threats they need to fight. You need to diversify your answers to them, and being able to double up on specific cards that you have in your list, even if you're only playing 1, 2, or 3 copies, really important.
Yeah, something we saw, Luis, in Shota's deck, and I'm doing this from memory, but I think there were 4 spells: Ceremonious Rejection, Essence Extraction, I think Harness Lightning. All 3 of those were singletons in his main deck. So, like you say, it really is just that versatility of being able to get there. Because let's be honest, let's remind ourselves, when we came in this weekend, there was a real sense that control might not be the place to be. None of us really had it, Luis, on our radar.
Yeah, I will include myself in that group. We talked with the team before we kicked off the Pro Tour, and one of the bullet points I had in the little presentation was, control's going to be tough to build. There's not going to be that many control decks, and lo and behold, the finals is 2 control decks.
All right, well, there's no doubt who the player of the weekend is. It is, of course, our champion, and that is Shota Yasuoka. He's waiting for us out in the feature match area with Brian David Marshall.
Thanks, Rich. Here we are in the feature match area. I am here with freshly crowned Pro Tour champion Shota Yasuoka, an individual trophy to go with his team trophy from 2006. And I need to get to the bottom of a story. I've heard that your deck was built Thursday night after the Hall of Fame ceremony. Is that true?
Yes. Yes, it's true. Always. Always at the very last minute.
How are you able to build a deck that late in the process?
どうやって難しいですね。いやまあいつも通りだね普通に。Always, it's like a natural thing for him. He always do this.
Now, you of course won a Pro Tour trophy as part of a team in 2006. You got as close as the finals a few years ago at Pro Tour Dragons of Tarkir. What does it mean for you to have an individual trophy, especially playing a control deck at this point in your career?
世界選手権とかドラゴンの竜騎伝の時も、2番最後に負けてしまったっていうことがありますが、今回インディビジュアルのこの戦いで勝てたということについてどういう意味を持ちますか？
単純に嬉しいですね。もうそんだけですね。はい。
Very happy。それでコントロールで勝てたということについて。
やっぱりコントロールは強いということをね、証明できたということで。
He proved that the control decks are good.
Now, a lot of people are going to try this at home. They're going to pick up your deck and try to play it. What kind of advice do you have for anyone trying to play this deck at FNM or at a PTQ in the near future?
多分安岡さんのデッキをコピーしてみんなプレイすると思うんですけど、アドバイスをお願いします。
いや、ちょっとあんまり使わない方がいいかもしれない。
They should not try.
There you have it.
Pro Tour only.
There you have it. Do not try this at home. Pro Tour champion Shota Yasuoka, his team, we're going to let Yuya Watanabe put the check down. He's been holding it up over his head for too long here. Sending it back to you guys at the desk from our player of the tournament, Shota Yasuoka.
Fantastic stuff. Thanks to BDM, thanks to Shota Yasuoka, and thanks to Kyoko, our Japanese translator there. Now, gentlemen, no prizes for guessing. I think we can say that the Grixis control list of Shota Yasuoka is our deck of the weekend. That's pretty easy. That's a good marriage. But when it comes to a match of the weekend, Ian, we're actually going to move away from constructed and just take a little look at limited.
Yeah, so our match of the week is Eric Froelich versus Shota Yasuoka, and I was actually at the wall with BDM covering Eric's draft. So we got to see him draft a base green white deck with a lot of mana fixing, actually splashing both blue and red, and his deck looked pretty good to us, at the end of the draft there. But sure enough, going into round one against Shota Yasuoka, Shota also had a pretty good deck himself, and I saw some plays there that involved pretty exciting moments involving rares and mythic rares, but I'll let Luis tell the story.
Right, so we're in round 9 because it's round 1 of day 2. So what happened, Luis?
So Eric opened on a turn 2 Smuggler's Copter, which is a potent play in limited, let's just say. But Shota's turn 5 was cast Confiscation Coup on Smuggler's Copter. Turn 6 was Noxious Gearhulk, fall to 1 off your attacks. Turn 7 was Sahili's Artistry, copying Noxious Gearhulk as both the creature and the artifact. Gearhulk, 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 and that pretty much sealed the game.
Yep, so that was fabulous, 1-0, marvelous. So what happened in game 2?
Oh, 3 Noxious Gearhulks happened in game 2. There were so many Noxious Gearhulks. It was quite a sight to behold.
It was obnoxious, well and truly.
I may have already said that. I didn't want to run it back, just so we're clear.
Right, okay.
Just again.
So, just a fantastic game of Magic. That was round 9. Check that out. That's our match of the weekend. So many other great ones. Pierre Dajon against Oliver Pilot-Rotman in round 13. Hey, the final. The final was a great game of Magic. Really, really was. But we're closing in on the end of play. So when we come to write our memoirs, well, those of us who get around to writing memoirs, what will we take away? What's the magic moment? BDM, let's start with you. What's your magic moment from Pro Tour Kaladesh?
You know what? The thing that I look forward to throughout the entire year, as much as I love watching all these great games, is watching players get to have a culmination to their careers and seeing two players who are still at the height of their powers. And frankly, Yuya Watanabe and Owen Turtenwald, players we probably haven't seen the best of yet, but have been so great on this scene, playing at this level, that they were inducted by their peers into the Pro Tour Hall of Fame, and we had a chance to have a ceremony for that. And that's just something that I really love being a part of, and I really enjoy watching just the greats embrace the next generation of greats into their fold.
Yeah, I thought Owen's speech was incredibly gracious and very global looking. On a night that was about him, that he went out of his way to be inclusive to everyone who's ever met him at an FNM or sent him a deck list and said, "Am I terrible at Magic?" And he's taken the time to reply.
And to acknowledge the younger players who've come up now and who say, "Oh, I look up to Owen Turtenwald. I want to be like Owen Turtenwald." Having that acknowledgement. Although you may have been talking about Yuya's speech there.
Oh, I think for both, I thought it was just tremendous. Ian, I don't know whether your magic moment is from an R&D perspective or just as a personal fan of the game. Where do you go first?
It's actually kind of both. I mean, for me, just in general, the personal thing about this tournament was seeing the big stage debut of a set that I have been working on and thinking about for probably, more than a year and a half at this point. So seeing Kaladesh, on the big stage was absolutely awesome. Seeing all these cool combo-y and inventor-like things that people have done here this weekend was awesome. And the moment that was most emblematic of that for me was seeing Paul Rietzel's draft on day one, covering that in the booth. And, coming into the tournament, coming out of the pre-release, a lot of people were talking about how the format's very fast and aggressive and you need to get on the board. Paul's deck was not that at all. He was the master inventor in that draft, and he was assembling things like, all kinds of decoction module and various other modules, Whirler Virtuoso, Era of Innovation, and just going off, producing energy, making Thopters, putting +1/+1 counters. Very cool deck to see.
Now, the thing is, while you're telling me this, the two gentlemen on your left are trying very hard not to giggle, because I know the two of you, you're like, yeah, give me the 6-drop, the 7-drop, the 3 artifacts that do this.
I just want the
It's not
decoction
clear that I'm not drafting right now.
I'm just like, yes, can we finish this so we can get onto the draft league? Absolutely. All right. Well, I'll do mine next because mine involves no non-land permanence whatsoever. I got up to 19 land in play at one point in the final with no other spells, and yet it was an incredibly complicated game state. And I just thought, yeah, one of the few things in life better than draw go is draw, discard to hand size go. And that was just magnificent to see that brand of Magic, that there's still room for that in the game alongside amazing creatures and mythic rares and planeswalkers, and just no land. Your turn, your move. Brilliant. Luis, for you, your magic moment.
For me, it's definitely that Matt Nass made top 8. It's been a long time coming. I know it's something he's really worked hard for, and seeing Matt make it to the top 8 was really, like you said, a culmination, not of his entire career, because I'm sure Matt Nass has plenty more left in the tank, but seeing him hit the mark that he really has strove for, and it was really incredible, and seeing his team behind him and, getting to celebrate with him, I was really happy about that.
And someone who's been one of the really great deck designers.
Definitely.
Doing it with, we've seen other people get to the top 8 with his decks over the last couple of years, and seeing him get to do it with his own deck, or, and obviously it's a team deck, but that he was an architect of was really gratifying.
There's definitely a part to it where he has built some really fantastic decks and gotten to see other people do well with them. And it's, I think, really rewarding that he finally gets his turn in the spotlight.
It's been a fantastic set. It's been a fantastic weekend. In fact, it's been so good, we thought we might do it all again at Pro Tour Ether Revolt in Dublin at the start of next year. First, there's the small matter of 73 countries at the World Magic Cup. If you think this weekend was good, that one's going to be nuts, because it features silly hats. All right, so until we meet again for the next Pro Tour, wherever you are around the world, Grand Prix in Providence, wherever you are, enjoy your Magic. From Brian David Marshall, Louis Scott Vargas, Ian Duke, all the rest of the Wizards of the Coast team, both here and back in the office. I'm your host, Rich Hagan, saying thanks for being with us, and bye.